Today I'm going to talk about Dapper. It's a simple object mapper for .NET. It has been created by Stack Exchange, the makers of Stack Overflow, so it is widely and thoroughly tested. Most of you might know Dapper. If you're not, I think you should go find out. There's a pretty cool library. So why do you need Dapper? Let's say if you're going to need data from a database in your .NET application, then Dapper is one of the simplest and quickest library that is available. It makes mapping your data to C# objects a walk in the park. Let's take a look at it. For the examples in my code here, I'm going to use a sample database from Microsoft. This one, the Wide World Importer Sample Database. So if you want to try this example on your own, go to this GitHub link and you can download the backup file. So that's what I did. And I restored it on my local machine, and I'm going to connect it via the connection string. So I'm going to run you through my sample application here. The Dapper.introduction is a simple .NET Core console application, and I'm recording this on .NET Core 3.1. Alright, and here I have a core project, purchase orders. So this is one of the tables in the database, and here's my C# object for the fields of that tables. So I'm going to read the table purchase orders, and here's my interface for the repository. So I'm going to get purchase order, all of them. I'm going to get purchase order with a purchase order ID with a single query parameter, and then purchase order with 2 parameters, and the purchase order with many, but I'm going to talk about that, why I'm going to use many. Then I have an infra project which implements this interface. This is where Dapper's used. And I'm using 2 libraries here. One is Dapper itself, and another one is system.data.sql client, because I'm going to make a connection to the SQL database. All right. Let's take a look one at a time. So let's go through. So I'm creating a object of the repository here, and I'm going to make a simple query. Repository.get purchase orders. And if I go to the definition, here's it. So here's the query. I'm selecting actually top 5 just to keep it simple. And from purchasing.purchase orders. Nothing much to the query here. And I'm creating a new SQL connection, and no creation of SQL commands, no mapping it to a local variable and creating an object of purchase order. Dapper takes care of all that. So once you create a SQL connection with the right connection string, and you just say connection.query and the C# object that you're querying, and pass in the SQL query, and it reads it for you and returns it. It's as simple as that. But make sure the properties that you define here are of the same name as the column name and of the same type, of course. Of course, it cannot be exactly the same type, but it has to match the type from the database. So please take a note of that. All right, next one is with a query parameter, and you'd be surprised how simple that is. So you define a query, and in the where clause, give the column name is equal to @ because this is a SQL database, and this is a perfectly fine SQL parameter. And when you're querying from Dapper, you pass in the SQL query, and the next parameter is an anonymous object with the value for the parameter. Notice that the name of the variable is the same as the name of the query parameter. But if it did not, this would fail. And the third one we have is query with more than one parameters. It's quite simple. It's a SQL statement here with 2 query parameters. Notice that in here, I'm not just passing the values, I'm also defining the property name here so that it matches exactly that I'm passing. There's a way to do it. The other one that I'm doing is with the in clause. It's an interesting one. So this is where I had to use in clauses a lot, and without Dapper it's a bit messy. But right now I just say in at IDs. This is not an exact right SQL query, but Dapper will take care of this for us. So you say at IDs, and then you pass in the value, just like we did earlier in an anonymous object with a property called IDs for that parameter, and you can pass in an array. That's what I'm doing here. So thank you for watching. Hope you've got something out of this. If you like it, please share this video and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.